So for the horizontal pull push squat for me, just finding the versions that are going to be right for you. So you might be holding something for 4 to 12 weeks, and when you progress, you really want to look for something that is going to stimulate your body. And sometimes you actually just do an easier version but add more weight, if you're doing kind of, especially when you've got dumbbells. And then sometimes you might go easier but then you add more volume, or you go to a harder version but you decrease the volume or the intensity. So it's a more complex skill, but you're just looking for different ways, whether it's complexity, whether it's intensity, whether it's volume, to make it harder and more challenging for the body. So these ones are great, using the hands on the knees and then going to doing them free, so that way the spine has to work a lot harder. And I like these because they're getting that hamstring stretching and strengthening at the same time as strengthening the pull pattern. So they're quite effective like that, especially if you, that's an area that you need to work on. If you're trying to get longer hamstrings, getting them stronger in that end range will really help. And if you're doing deadlifts once a week, at the other end of the week you're getting these in, it'll help you develop a lot faster. And if you're not doing a lot of mobility work but you're doing these, it saves a lot of time. But the extra load is much more effective than just your stretching anyway. So here you've got the bent over row using the 2 dumbbells and just doing them in sync, and again adding more and more complexity and more hamstring length requirement as it's bending down through the hip. So you want to try and get a nice pull, really get the elbows right back, squeeze the shoulder blades together and stretch all the way down, so you use a full range of motion with the arm. So using the bands, if you don't have dumbbells, these can work quite well, but as you can see, it's quite hard when you pull back, but it's very easy when you stretch down. So it's making sure that you're developing evenly through there. You can squat down and up to kind of even it out, so you're doing the opposite movement with the legs. It's a bit tricky, but usually the bands are just nice if you don't have somewhere to hang the rings. Here's a heavy version, just doing a deeper arch extension coming up into neutral. When I'm hitting neutral, I'm adding that pull with the arm, so it ends up kind of being like a pull-up into a bent over row type thing, because you're getting that overhead pull, which is quite nice, good fun, something different. So it's always more. Going into body weight, it's good to use just easy versions where you get a full range, get a nice stretch and really feel that protraction into retraction, and then getting a nice twist grip. I like this underhand grip, so it gets a better stretch on the lat, strengthens it through that full range of motion a lot more when you keep the turnout. Single arm ones are a great progression as well. Obviously whenever you're doing single arm work, it's going to take a bit more time because you got to do both arms, so you got to factor that in. And then double arm when you're going a bit heavier, and then straightening the legs, but again always trying to use that full range, so coming right through and then coming right up. Here I've got the feet elevated to make it heavier, it's got more weight in the upper body, and just getting a nice squeeze at the top, keeping the tongue on the roof of the mouth so the neck's stable, jaw closed, mouth closed. Just want to keep looking up at that anchor point. So a lot of people throw their head back, or they keep looking down at their feet while they're doing it, which is okay, but you just want to be able to have that nice neutral strength through the neck and that whole spinal movement. I like these whole body movement from the lunge to the pull, like that, and then lunge to the push as well is very cool. So you're driving out of the back leg, but again it takes more time when you're doing single leg, and it's a lot heavier because it's a whole body movement. So if you're working squats with that, it's pretty heavy. So you might do the lunge pull and then into a push-up, or the lunge push after doing a body weight pull. So here doing a push-up, an easier version, and stretching right back, stretch your hamstring, shoulders. I like those. Get a lot of people doing those. They're great for doing at home, kitchen bench. And then just really trying to make sure the spine is stable, there's no arching or squirming when you're pushing out of the bottom, and getting a good chest stretch at the bottom. Going through the knees, and then to the toes into the bridge, and then gradually building that strength to be able to do it off the toes from the bottom. So you're doing the eccentric first, building that up before you go to concentric. So it's all just about how you just bridge one workout to the next to gradually get a bit stronger provided all the weak links are stable. And then just moving the shoulders further and further forward in the push-up will increase the load, so there's less weight in the feet. Pushing right through, really try and finish the push-up in that protractor position. On the toe, it's like that, so with the toes tucked under, you're working that toe point as well. It's quite hard. And the more weight that goes forward, the less is in the toes, so it does make it a bit easier on them. And then from the front, just making sure you're going through that full push, so you're getting that nice stretch at the bottom, and you're stretching out your back as you push right through into that protractor position. And as you bring the shoulders forward, you usually have to bring the hands in a bit more so you can get further over as well. If you're too wide, you won't be able to lean as far. The ring push-up's great, good stability work. I like the turnout, so you get that external rotation. Really finish with that full serratus press, and then get that nice chest stretch at the bottom. And then before you go into the heavier versions in the rings, the parallel ones are good, or you can use dumbbells, so you're getting that deficit. And then here leaning over in front, so it's a bit deeper as well. And then in the rings, using that turnout when you go back to the knees, so you can do the same type of progressional versions as with the ground. So here just going up onto the toes and then back to the knees, and then working towards getting that turnout on the toes, which is much heavier. Pushing right through, get a full turnout. Really want to make sure there's no squirming in these, that you're really feeling the whole body locked together. And it's just a shoulder dip. And then here you can add in the overhead position, so you're strengthening through a larger range of motion. What's hard with this one is keeping more weight forward, so you can see my shoulders move back quite a lot. So ideally stay a bit more forward and get the butt over, so you go into full body weight versions. Squatting, it's good to start easy. Here's a double leg version, so coming right down, getting good full range of motion, stretching the ankles, the knees, the hips out. Just get stable with that. And then you can go towards a single leg one with a spot. You can do the close stance ones as well, so that stretches the ankles for the single leg squat. And then there, trying to get nice and deep and just use enough help from the other leg to get a full range of motion. And then you can work the eccentric, so lowering down and then just getting a spot on the way up. It's good to reach forward too, so it keeps the torso more upright and allows you to get more through the hip. So these are pretty much, I find, almost a body weight, at least a 3/4 body weight double leg squat. So a great version to do. The lateral ones are good, so you can work on your side split at the same time. Plus you just get enough assistance there like you would with a weight shift push up or pull up. As you're going towards a single leg. Then here, loading it up through the front, keeping nice and upright. You can work with the lateral one as well. Trying to really keep those elbows up and stay vertical and really stretch and strengthen those hips out. It's a great one to work to improve your side split at the same time as your squat. And then the close stance one to help improve that single leg squat. Really good to do. That way you feel those ankles really mobilize. And then the loaded single leg squat. These are quite heavy, so you might not have heavy dumbbells, but you add a little bit of load to a single leg squat, it makes it a lot harder. And then when you're squatting with barbell back squats, just using that full range, use it as a stretch and make sure you're not squirming out of the bottom. And then the front squat's a bit heavier, keeps your torso a bit more upright and driving out of the bottom. And then there's always ways to make it harder. So here just doing more of a mobility version. Bit shaky there, going right down deep, and that way it's really loading that whole hip up as they come across, coming around to that deep squat, and then coming up and then doing the other side. And then these ones require a lot more flexibility as well, so using that hamstring mobility, but you can see that the back rounds out. Pretty much impossible to do that without rounding the back. But it's that hamstring mobility and strength and control at the same time as doing the squat. Because it's only body weight rounding out, it's not really a big deal. So get to work on your horizontal pull push squat, get some videos in, and I'll see you soon, guys. Cheers.